Hello, welcome back to yet another episode of the Trek Way. Cheers, Greg. Living
Howdy,
long and
howdy.
prosper as always. We are back for another review of Lord Dex Season 3, Episode 6. Here, all trust nothing. Small caveat at the start, there's probably going to be an audio sync issue with when you see my mouth move and me talking. And I'm sorry if you never noticed this, and I've now made you notice this. Apologies. The talking head video, so hopefully you can start with it for this episode and we get it fixed. Discord has been its usual pain in the ass self, so apologies.
Yep.
But technical problems aside, Gray, you were a big fan of this episode. I was a big fan of this episode. You gave it a 10 out of 10. I give it probably a 9 out of 10. So high marks all around from our usual average 7 out of 10, safe to say, Gray. You enjoyed this one, yeah?
Oh yeah, this was a really good episode, and we're gonna get into it. And it was exciting for one huge reason we're gonna get into in a second, and it was great. Really loved it.
Best
But let's
episode of
not
the
spoil
season
it.
so
Let's
far?
oh yeah, no doubt.
I would say, yeah, I'd have to agree with that, actually, yeah. It's like they're getting better and better as they go on, actually. So they're actually raising the bar so much that they're going to have to keep this standard up, actually, and that's what concerns me. But
The
anyway,
only way this could have been just a tiny bit better is if Dr. Tiana had said something, and she
well, we get to it at one point. Actually, there is a small cameo from her, which cracked me up. But yeah, we'll kick it off, Gray. So we do start this episode with the captain back, slightly more at the start to do than she did last time. Captain Freeman. She starts with her usual captain's log. It turns out she has to negotiate, carry out negotiations with this species called the Chimera. Now, I may have spelt this wrong in the notes. I may be pronouncing it slightly wrong, but I'm going with Chimera. Are you going with Chimera, Gray?
Sure, why not?
He's very easy and chilled out. That's what I like.
Chimera, what's
Chimera is a car, so it can't be that. If someone's named a species after a car, that is wrong. Anyway,
I had one of those.
so yeah, one of the fellow captains comes on. He's got a Spanish name. I don't recall what it is. I apologize. Basically says, Captain, you're going to have to go and carry this out because the Vancouver has to go, the USS Vancouver, which I'm assuming is their ship, has to go and evacuate a colony because of a brown hole. And I'm saying, a what now? Gray, would you love to tell the people what a brown hole is? And no, it's not a euphemism or a dirty joke.
No, I've heard the expression once in a while, and so I had to go and find out where this came from. So basically, there is an Urban Dictionary reason for this whole word, a description of what a brown hole is. And it is the result of a person or organization disappearing so far up their backside that they warp a hole in space-time from which not even logic can escape.
Now, Gray, I will tell you right now, that's 100% what it'll be from, because it's the humor of this show, isn't it? That the writers knew this and they put it in because it's an adult comedy based on Star Trek.
But the funny thing is, even the crew's going like, "Is that even a thing?"
Yeah, this is true.
Like,
They're saying it, we're saying it. So we had a chuckle at that. So Captain's not best pleased. He then says, okay, take us to where to go and let's drop out of warp. And then the next thing we get, excuse my bad singing, is yes, DS9 is back, ladies and gentlemen. I've literally written here in big letters on my notes, DS9, baby. The thing is, I don't know about you, Gray, but when I first saw DS9 and not long after, I wouldn't say it was my worst Star Trek show, but it wasn't one of my top ones, and it's just because I wasn't a massive fan of the space station genre. But, as time's elapsed since the show's been off the air, I've loved it more. It will never be my number one show, but it's crept up a couple of places to the point where I saw this with the music and the station and the wormhole, and I'm cheesing. I'm assuming you're really happy when you saw this as well.
Oh yeah, Deep Space Nine is one of my top Star Trek series, more so than Voyager. I know that's bad for you, but But DS Space Nine was such a great series, and the weird thing is to show you how much we geek out and we love Star Trek. I had to play that sequence of Lower Decks over
So did
about
I,
five
Gray. So
times.
did I. I kept
Oh, I just kept
rewinding.
doing it over, over, because it was like for a minute you just imagine that there was actually new Deep Space Nine, right? It's kind of like a discovery, like wait, is there a lost episode?
Yeah.
What? And you
Yeah.
just feel all excited, go like Deep Space Nine, really? Oh yeah. So you were getting all excited,
Yes.
and everything. So it was just great, and I just love the whole scene. They have the music come in, and I'm probably wrong about this, but when you first see Deep Space Nine on the screen, on the view screen of the Cerritos, I could swear that looks like it came from one of the stock footage shots, and then when they went to the outside shot, obviously it's animated, you can tell. I could be really wrong about that, but it sure looked
Nah.
really
It might have
good.
been taken from a stock image or
Right.
video clip and then turned into animation. I don't know if you can do that. You can make an animation from a
You can. It'd be kind
video.
of hard, but yeah.
But yeah, hey, it's very possible to try and save a buck or
Yeah,
two.
for sure.
But yeah, so we are all very, very happy with this. Gray puts in the notes here a little mention from Shax, who says Tacky Cardassian fascist
Ashes,
eyesore.
eyesore.
Now, has to say that he's a Bajoran. I get it.
Right.
That was a
Yeah.
little comedy moment from Mr. Shax. But we're still in the whole scene of going around, flying around the space station, and the Helms woman, Helms woman, is that a thing? Helms
Helmswoman,
man for man and woman.
Helms person,
Helms person. There
Helms,
we go. We don't want to upset anyone.
or
So
just yeah, like
we don't want to upset anyone. Helms person, right? It has to give the captain
mhm.
some time because Captain Freeman has to quickly go away and try and read up quickly a little bit on the Chimerians, so that she knows what she's doing because she knows nothing about them. So she asked.
She
She,
purposely says, "Well, just waste some time or something. I got to
no,
read
no,
up
no,
on
no.
this."
She doesn't say that. It's the commander that says that. Commander Ransom. She says to the commander, "Oh, what should I do?" And he's like, just fly around the station's pylons several times in awe. And then a couple of times this happens. They go round a little bit, like the music comes on, and they're flying around the pylons like the intro
Yeah, and
video.
look really good and
Yeah,
nice and graceful,
and then it
and the
goes,
music was great, and then the music ends and it's silent and it goes back
and
and
it goes
and
back
the
again.
helms
Yeah,
and the helm's going. So what do I do now?
yeah, yeah.
What? Just keep it going. Just go around again.
Yeah, go round. So there's a couple of times, 2, 3 times this happens. They go round, and I'm not complaining because I'm already rewinding this whole scene several times as it
Right,
is with a big
right.
smile on my face. So that made it 10 out of 10 by default straight away.
Yeah.
So very happy with that. Oh God, how do you beat that? It then moves back to plot B, as I like to call it, which doesn't get really funny until the end, but it's basically Beckett hanging out with our ensign friends, Gray, and our adoring girlfriend Jennifer. Asks her if she wants to join her for her and her girlfriends are having a party and whatnot, and her and her
Well,
girlfriends
you
be.
know what?
Mhm.
I have to interrupt because this just dawned on me all of a sudden because I remember the scene. I'm pretty sure I'm right, although I'd have to go back and rewind it. But when it opened up with Beckett
Yeah,
talking to the crew, her little crew, she's in the top bunk. I'm positive of
yeah,
this.
she
She's
is,
in
she
the top
is,
bunk.
she is.
So she jumps back down, and then they all talk or whatever.
Yeah.
And then of course the girlfriend pops up, Jennifer. She's in the top bunk.
Are you one of the, how do you notice things like this, Greg? You're one of these like
It
TV
just
blooper
popped into my
guys.
head. I'm going because I was thinking about this. I'm going like, so while you're talking, I'm going like, so wait a minute, where did she come from? I said, and then I'm thinking, she didn't come from the bottom bunk. She was in the top bunk with her, and I'm like, okay, now it's starting to click for the rest of the episode. But go ahead. It's
That's
just dawned on me right now. Just like, huh?
I don't remember Jennifer being the top bunk, but I do remember, and I'm not saying you're wrong. It very well could have been like that. You've got keen eyes, is all I will say, and attention for
Well,
detail.
see, this makes a little more sense now because the rest of her friends, Boems, Tendy, and Rutherford all just go, "Hi, Jennifer."
But so
That's her
do you think
girlfriend's name.
do you think they were lying beside each other in the top bunk?
I think yes, I do definitely, and I think that's
Ah.
And I think that's more the reason why they went, "Hi, Jennifer," like
Ah,
that.
yeah. They do.
And now it clicks and makes more sense than it
They,
did even before.
they
So I'm like,
massively,
"Okay, yeah."
they massively embarrass her, basically, Gray. Like you
And this
said,
is part of
hi.
this is part of the reason why I like this episode and any episode, because if you are that good and you're on target and you're kicking on all cylinders,
Mhm.
you drop all these things at the proper points and people will pick up on it, or they'll go back and watch it again and pick up on it maybe later.
Well,
That's a sign of good writing.
it is, but also as well with voice acting, as you probably know, Gray.
Oh yeah.
Very
Oh yeah.
rarely they're all in booths separately, probably in different days. They come in for sessions and blocks recording their own stuff, and they'll very rarely interact with the other actors. So to be able to voice acting is its own. The less I move, the less of the audio sync thing you see.
Don't
But
worry.
if with this one, they don't
The voice actors, yeah.
bumped into one another too often. So more credit has to go to the voice actors, I think. In
Yeah.
some ways, it's
Yeah.
harder than full on acting, if that makes sense.
Oh, it is. I mean, in fact, if you've ever seen, and you can see some of this on YouTube, where you actually see the actor, they film the actor doing voiceover and stuff. They're constantly like doing this and moving
The
around and
animated
using
thing,
their
yeah.
hands,
They have to.
because you have to, exactly. They
Ants in the
can't just go like
pants.
this, because they know that acting is
They're,
body
they're
language.
not. They're not. They're not all
If they don't,
Vulcans.
right, if they don't get into the body language, they can't convey the proper emotion. It's definitely a whole talent into itself.
Yeah.
You don't really think about it sometimes. They just think, "Oh, voiceover, you just get on a microphone and talk." No. Even what we do is not that simple for everybody to do, and what
Yeah.
they do in voice acting is 10 times harder.
Yeah. No, respect
So,
always goes to these guys. I think they do a cracking job, to be fair, and I'm hugely
mhm.
impressed with them. So yeah, the poor Beckett's embarrassed by her friends. He wants to join them to go on to DS9 for a tour, but they convince her to go with Jennifer to the girlfriend's party, and that means something completely
The
different. And
salon. They're
that means
going to the
it's a
salon.
salon, and that means something else in the UK compared to the US. In the US,
Oh, okay.
people will say, "I'm going round to my girlfriend's," which would be your
Oh,
friend. But if you said that here, that's your partner. So there's
maybe
a
they
little
said
bit.
that because it had two types of meanings.
Yeah, well, I don't think they do say that. They don't
Yeah.
actually say that in here, but I'm saying it's the girlfriend's party.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. So the rest of them are going for the cool space station tour, and she has to go around to a salon party, which I heard of before. But hey, I'm learning something new today. Now, the next scene again puts a massive smile on my face, Mr. Gray, and that is Major Kira Nerys
Kira's.
is back. Oh, I spelled
Oh,
her
by the
name wrong in
way,
the roads. He's upset. He's upset. I
yeah,
spelled the name
that's
wrong,
okay.
people.
By the way, they called her Colonel Kira.
They did. She's been
Yes,
upgraded.
apparently.
Promotion. I'm used to
You would think,
her being major, mate. I'm used to her being major. But you're right, she is a colonel in this, isn't she?
yeah.
So yeah, Nana, sorry. I found this out recently on something we
Yep.
watched. It's not Nana, it's Nana.
I never knew
Visitor.
that. I assumed it was Nana, and then all of a sudden they go
Well, that
not
makes
Nana,
sense. Your Nana's your
grandmother.
grandmother, isn't it? So yeah, of course. So yeah, she's back.
Let me ask you a question. I want to interrupt for a second. Do you think now? I know okay, so she got promoted to colonel,
Yes.
but if she's been at the DS9 for so long and she's obviously running it, right?
hmm
So why would she not be commander?
She's a different
Or
rank. She's Bajoran rank because she's still a Bajoran
okay,
serving in Starfleet. That's why you've got Colonel and you've got
okay.
Major, which are not ranks in Starfleet, I don't think. Because the Starfleet takes Navy rankings rather than
Mm,
Army rankings. It sounds like she's Bajoran Army rank.
Army, yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Okay, I get it.
But yeah, she's basically commanding the station while Cisco's off gallivanting with gods or whatever, So, but
For the
one
last 20 years.
one thing, thing is right. I don't think there's a massive delay here, Gray, because this takes place in kind of modern Trek era. So for all we know, Cisco's all been off the station for a matter of months. You don't have exact timings for this. You just know it's kind of current Star Trek timeline. So what I do notice, did you notice this, Gray? Kira is in Cisco's office, but his baseball that he loves so much is
Yeah,
still on the end of the table.
yeah.
I noticed that. Not everyone does.
And she picked it up. She was picking it up and
Did
playing
she? I
around with
missed
it.
that. But I'm
Yeah, she
taking
picks it
notes
up
at the
like
same
this,
time.
and she says Starfleet likes to throw curveballs once in a while.
Oh
So perfect reference to what
yeah.
Cisco might have said.
I
Yeah.
I see. This is why another reason why Craig he notices these things. He bails me out of a hole.
Well, the nice thing was it showed, how much the characters respected each other and were close.
Very close.
And that baseball stays there, and it's probably been there for a few years, or whatever.
These things
So,
these things make the show work. The little
mhm,
Easter eggs. And you said
mhm,
before, Gray, Easter eggs are fine as long as you don't have too many of them and they're actually
right,
meaningful in the work.
right,
So yeah,
right.
we did enjoy that. Nana back is brilliant. She's not the only one that's back, but we'll get to that in just a moment. So these, I should probably add in the Chimerians, as I'm now calling them. They have a backup plan for these negotiations if they don't go well, because they're a bit like Ferengi. They're about the profit,
Yeah,
about the money,
yeah,
right? And this is
mhm,
why
yeah.
where the episode's going will make sense because they're similar to the Ferengi. Um, but yeah, they have a backup plan if things don't go well. They have a bomb under their outfit.
Yeah.
So, bit left field. But then our other character that we love so much, and another one is backgrade. Do you want to tell the other the other character that's on the show?
Yeah, so what's going obviously, they're making comments about being in DS9 and wanting to go around and take a tour and look and all this stuff. And even our little crew starts going like, "Ooh, I wonder if there's a Quarks aboard." Tendy says, and then Boehm says, "That's the original Quarks. It's the first one." And so when they get around to walking around the DS9, they drop into Quarks, and there he is. And it's the real actor Armin Shimmerman doing the voice. So it's just kind of like, man, 2 for 1. We got Kira and we got Quark back. It's like, how much better could this get? Well, it could be Cisco. That would be nice, but
Ah,
that
yeah.
didn't happen.
Well, can we touch on that really briefly, Gray? Because um, I would have loved Avery Brooks to come back, but I generally
Yeah.
don't think we'll ever see him back. And I do get a bit concerned because when William Shatner done that Captain's Round Table documentary thing that he done, he sat down with all the
Mhm.
captains and he spoke to them all. And when he was speaking to Avery while he was playing the piano, I I hope it's just his quirky nature. It just looked and sounded like he was a couple of cans short of a six pack, and I generally hope the
Mm.
marbles are still there. I generally don't think he'd ever come back to something like that. He's probably been offered. He's probably just not been interested because he's a.
Oh, I'm sure he's been offered probably a bunch of
Oh
times.
yeah, yeah. He's probably.
But he's been from what I understand, he's been turning down all kinds of work in the last few years or whatever since he left, and he just doesn't. He's just done. He doesn't want to do any more acting really, and that he doesn't have to.
Yeah, no, it's a damn shame because Avery Brooks is one of my top captains. He's in my top five. I love the guy. It's
I think
just
the only
shame he's not back.
just sorry to interrupt. The only thing that I guess was I'm not going to say it was really a downside per se to the episode because it was great. You don't hear them mention Cisco at all.
Yes,
But
that's annoying.
but okay, he's with the prophets doing his work. But you think they would say like maybe a little something?
Yeah,
And
mention his
the
name.
only right, and the only other character that I thought maybe they should have mentioned somehow, even if it was in passing, was Odo. And you didn't hear him say anything about Odo.
And Nog, because
And Nog,
they
and Nog,
both passed
and
in
they
real
both
life.
passed away. I can't blame them because I'm thinking that I think that because they know they passed, they felt it was better just to ignore it as opposed to say something. But I would have done something. I would have. I mean, it could have been
A
anything. It could have
tribute.
been like a picture in the background of Nog,
Yeah, yeah. Small thing.
maybe you might see Odo in the background walk by in animation form and no voice, right?
Yeah,
Something.
yeah.
And
Something,
I thought
nothing.
that was a missed opportunity that I thought they could have maybe thrown in there, but maybe it's nitpicking. I don't know.
Well, Garrick should have been there. You mentioned that as well, Greg. Garrick should have been there because he is our favourite tailor in the whole of Star Trek, and he is not there. So we do get two names, so we'll take that. We will
Mhm.
take that. We'll take
Sure.
Quark and we'll take Kira. I'm happy to see them both back. Um,
Well, the other good thing was whereas before little things like this would be kind of like a passing note or a mention or a picture or whatever. These people were the actual characters, the actors, and they were out throughout the whole episode. I really didn't think that was going to happen. I thought, they would just you'd see them and that'd be it, and they do their, the lower decks would just do
really?
their own thing. I didn't think they were gonna really get involved, but all of a sudden, Kira's
Yeah,
like totally involved,
yeah, mate.
and Quark is totally involved.
You don't get someone like Armin and Nana involved to a cameo. No, they're going to be a big part of that. So I'm
Well,
glad that was the case.
right. That's what I'm saying. I'm glad that they did do that because it could have just as easily been a quickie cameo and be
Nah.
done with it. And but they actually were just really involved.
If they're going to do that, they don't bother hiring the actor who'll be
Mhm.
expensive for a couple of lines. They would just have them with no voice, so they could just put them
Sure.
in animation form. But we'll take two. We'll take two characters we love coming back.
Yep.
We're still in the space station, and Tindy bumps into another Orion Grey. And I noticed here, I've mentioned that he's a lot greener. Now,
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. Like, if you look at even human beings, there's different shades of skin. And I'm not even just talking about white folk and people of black skin. You have different shades, different variations.
Sure.
So probably the same for Orions as well.
Well,
But
look how they explain the Klingons, right? They said that there's some Klingons that look more human-like, some Klingons that have the head
yeah,
and all that, and even Worf says, "Well, we don't talk about it."
yeah, and we have you have black Klingons as well. So yeah, of course,
Yeah,
definitely.
so yeah.
So this, I can't remember what this Orion's other Orion's name was, but all I remember from this Grey was he was a bit of a pain in the arse at the start.
Yeah.
He was making jokes constantly about Orions and their pirating ways, and he makes a joke about look at us two, up to no good. Look up your valuables. He says, very stereotypical of Orions actually, but that
Yeah.
comes to a head later on the episode, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Now we have the party next, Gray. We have the party back
Mhm.
on the salon party. Now I think it's only fair if you talk about this party point, this salon point here, because I just think you know about a lot of these things, Gray, that I have no clue about. What happens in the party?
Well, the party, like, we come to what they're all doing at the party, and it's kind of more like it kinda reminds you of a sorority pajama party, so to speak. And Beckett arrives in full uniform, of course, and looks totally out of place. But that goes along with the character because she's not sure what to expect. So the funny thing is that she goes in, everything's all very cheesy and stuff, and they're all talking and everything, and we've always been, watching the characters, seeing how these different romantic situations develop or whatever. But the girlfriends come up and ask Beckett. They said, "Is Boimler single?" And they want to know whether he's available. And Beckett just can't handle this, and so she was already pouring a drink because she felt uncomfortable. And then as soon as they started saying, like, they want to know more about Boimler, he's sexy, he's this, he's that, she's like pouring more and
She
more of the
finishes
drink to
it.
get over it. Yeah, and what I thought was so funny about that is, again, they're throwing this in, which is like 2 or 3 episodes worth now, where everybody everybody seems to love Boimler, but of course he didn't notice anything. He still
Oh no,
doesn't notice anything. So
hopeless.
it's really funny. So it's a running joke now of every female practically coming in and wondering what he's doing. Is he available? Blah blah blah. So I thought that was pretty cute.
Yeah,
Um,
Boimler's a bit hopeless, safe to say, Gray. It is a bit
yes.
hopeless, this guy. I think it was Romulan ale. They don't say it, but it's very green, so.
Well, there was a scene too where when they were talking about the gifts for whatever race it was at the beginning of the episode, and there was a shot of all the liquor they were bringing, and it was so funny because I can't remember all the names now, but on the side it said some alien da 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 whiskey, some other alien other kind of liqueur. It was all this liqueur, and then in
Ah,
the
yeah.
corner was something something's milk. Like you have all this
Oh,
you have all this alcohol, and then all of a sudden you just milk, and I'm like,
I don't even want to know. I just, yeah, I remember that
yeah.
now, actually. This party, Gray, is, seem to be making their own candles, which is very, very
Yeah,
random. But
I'm looking at this going like making your own candles. Ooh.
this is very
You
interesting.
we I don't know about you, but I'm cringing as much as Beckett is. I'm sitting there going
Oh,
like,
no.
wow, this is really
No,
not not
my cringe level at this scene is almost as high as it is for the whole series of She-Hulk, but that's another discussion.
yeah, another
Um,
discussion that we'll talk about on the next GGR. Anyway,
exactly, yes, on the next CGR. So yes, moving on from this party, the Camarians, as I'm calling them now, they're not happy that Captain Freeman's stepping in because it should have been the Spanish captain. So they're not getting who they actually thought they would get. And while they're kind of talking, negotiating, I love this little scene. Great, we have Shax and Kira talking to each other, embracing each other. They're arguing about who saved who back in the bad days with the Cardassians. So you saved me, and no, I had to save you. We wouldn't have been in this position if you hadn't saved me, and blah blah blah. So it's a love-hate relationship between these two. I like the scene between those two.
Yeah, I thought this scene was great. I was trying to count how many times they saved each other. I think I lost count at around 6 each or something, and I'm going like, how long is this gonna go?
It's
But they genuinely loved to argue though. There wasn't like a real argument. It was more like a fun argument, if that makes any sense.
I'm getting this with Bajorans. They just take no shit. They say what's on their mind. They'll argue with the best of them. Yeah, I love the scene between these two. Our man Grey, Bold Boims as we're calling him, Bold Boimler. It's still a thing, by the way, in this episode. He calls himself Bold Boimler.
3 episodes in, he's still bold.
He's still, well, yeah, very much bold. He is at Quarks on the dabble table. He seems to be winning quite a lot in it. Mr. Quark is not happy about this at all, for obvious reasons. He sets things up and he rigs things to get his own way. And then Gray's mentioned here, Quark asked Captain Freeman about Quarks at Starfleet Academy, which is a great idea, by the way. She says no. She says no problem. We'll set you up with a Quarks Express instead. Now, I don't even know what that is. A coffee machine?
No, what it is maybe that's not as well known over there, but here in the U.S., what it means is like if you have let's say you have a pizza store, a brick and mortar pizza store that's very famous, could be a Domino's, whatever it is, right? But instead of a brick and mortar, because you can't have a large shop, you'd have what they call an express version. So what it is, it's a pop-up store that's very small and just sells maybe 1 or 2 types of pizzas, and that's it.
I'll be damned. I didn't know that.
So when he said, "Well, can I set up a Quarks at Starfleet?" and she says, "No," he says, "Oh, that's okay. We'll just get you a Quarks Express." And I was laughing my butt off because not only does he have Quarks franchised all over the place, but he even has Quarks Express for those that can't afford a large setup. So it was like, okay,
that was pretty amusing.
yeah.
We go back to the Cerritos, back on
The cringe party.
The cringe, yeah, let's call it that. I like that. That sticks. The cringe party ensues. I've wrote down here. Beckett is not enjoying herself one little bit. The problem is she's trying to be really polite and not her usual self because she doesn't want to embarrass her girlfriend. Gray's noted down here, one of the girls, because they're all doing funky, cringy shit, she does the Kobayashi Maru dance. Basically, you don't know what's going to come. She keeps doing these crazy maneuvers and stuff, and I'm just going, "Oh God!" So is Beckett.
And now you know that now you know there's a dance that goes along with it.
My God! See, that's what Kirk was missing out on there. Back in the space station, we have our most lovable Ferengi, Quark. He starts insulting the Chimerians with various things, and negotiations start breaking down. Gray's mentioned here, Quark says he's got principles, and Kira yells, "No, you don't." Classic Quark and Kira argument stuff there. Now, they had to have that, Gray, don't they? Because those two argue, and Quark and Odo had their own special relationship as well, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
So
I thought it was almost like, again, I got excited at that only because it was just like they hadn't left. It's almost like nothing ever changed, like, and the two of them were just going at it again, and they did this more than once through the episode, as we'll get to, and it was just like classic. He's going like, "I have principles," and he goes, "No, you don't." It's like you've never had principles.
And that exact tone, the exact same tone, Gray just on there, like exactly on the show. I think that's good writing and good voice acting. That's that's what they intended. That's what we wanted to hear. So, and maybe
I could be wrong, but I think the actors had a great time doing this. They sounded like they're really, I think they're really enjoying themselves, and I think that's part of what kind of spread through the rest of the cast, or the rest of the voice actors, because you noticed it in this episode. There's no doubt.
Why did they not have more of them? If they had, why don't they have more of these voice actors in the same area, like in different pods, where they could see each other and they have
Well,
pass-through audio so the other one doesn't hear, so they've got something to... It'd be
to
better,
be
no?
honest, they don't always go in their own pods. There's a lot of times where they do group them together,
Oh, right,
so
okay,
that they
okay.
so that they can see each other. It's not always just separate pods. It depends on what's called for at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
But generally speaking, if you look at if you go on YouTube and you look up this kind of stuff, you will see that there's 2, 3, 4 of them in a room. Now they might be separated a little bit because if you get too close, you get a lot of audio
Yeah, yeah,
cancellation
yeah,
going on.
yeah, yeah.
But they'll be spread out a little bit maybe or whatever. But they do it. They do definitely get together.
Right, yeah. Well, whatever they're doing, keep doing it because they're doing an excellent job.
Mhm.
Little side note here, we never mentioned very much at the start, but our background pictures today, mine's the good old faithful Defiant with the wormhole. It has to be done, but obviously Gray's is this is for the audio podcast
Mhm.
people, is DS9 with the Cerritos at the side, probably doing one of its 10 million fly around the pylons with the music
I can
constantly
hear
on
it.
repeat.
I can hear it now. Dun, 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 dun.
That's epic music now, Greg. It's one of my favourite
It is.
theme musics, to be fair. Anyway, right. So we back in the space station, we have Tendi with Rutherford and the other Orion officer. She starts going nuts and she blows up a little bit because
She
this
loses it
Orion,
big time.
yeah, this Orion officer is constantly just the stereotype about Orions in general, that they're no good, they're pickpockets, they're pirates, they're
The
thieves.
pirates. Yeah.
And she's just getting fed up at this point where she just kind of blows her lid a little bit. And it was good to see, stick up for yourself, stick up for your species.
Sure.
Why not? But that's obviously going to go places for sure, this little B plot that we have. The Camarians back in Quarks Bar notice, Gray, that there's a Quark replicator there. Right now, straight away, they're
Yep.
like, "What the hell is this?" It's called the Quark 2000, which cracked me up. Sounds like a stereotypical futuristic
Yeah.
name. They knock it over, Gray. Straight away, they just see this thing and they knock it over, and you're thinking, "Why would you do that?" Because they notice something mysterious about it. There's a mysterious device inside it, which they don't recognize, and they go, "Aha!" Straight away, their plan B kicks into action. And I thought, remember before when they had a plan B with the bomb? I thought they were going to go, kind of terrorist style and just blow up the station. That's my initial thought.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, it wasn't. Their plan B was to take that device. It was like a little mine thing. It was literally, they threw it at the nearest panel, Elkar's panel, and then suddenly, immediately, all power goes down on the station and the Cerritos because it's attached via umbilical to the station. And at this, what are you thinking at this stage, Gray? Are you thinking the shit's hit the fan? It's what's going to
Yeah, I'm not
happen
sure
here?
what's going on. I mean, I thought originally they might do the same thing, like a terrorist thing, but then I started thinking like, well, they wouldn't do that if it's a
Too
comedy. But
obvious.
then, but you don't know for sure. And then all of a sudden they throw this thing and it turns everything off. Which again, it's a cartoon, so yeah, it's a little far fetched, but it's okay. And then everything shuts down. The ship shuts down. Everything's shutting down, and nobody knows what to do, anymore. Like they're all like going bananas.
Do you want to tell us what happens in the next part here, Gray? It's pretty amusing.
Yeah, it was great. What you saw Boimler, he's every so often they would cut to Boimler winning at the Dabo table. And
Several
understand that
times.
Boimler is not cheating. This is makes it even funnier. Cheating isn't even in his textbook. He would
Yeah.
never do things like
He's
this.
a Boy Scout.
He's a Boy Scout, right? But he keeps winning anyway, and he says, "Because I'm a good at Dabo," and he's
Quark's
there,
not
and
happy.
they can't believe this or anything. So then the power goes off, and the Dabo table wheel that spins around is powered obviously by electricity or whatever. And as soon as the power goes out, the wheel is still spinning from its own centrifugal force from the last spin, right? So now the table is not getting any power at all, and they go to a shot where they're still standing around the Dabo table in darkness, but they can still see. And what does it do? It lands, and he wins again, and they all go winner. Like I
Yeah.
thought that was great how they dropped that in. It wasn't just the fact that he won. It was the fact that the power's out, the wheel's still spinning, and he still wins.
He
And it,
must have won quite a bit of money in general, and he literally has won the jackpot 2 or 3 times at this stage.
yep,
He's the he's the type of guy that would have that kind of luck, especially when he has women throwing themselves all over him and he never
of
notices. So
course.
typical Boimler, to be fair.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, back at the cringe party, as
Cringe
we're now
party.
dubbing it, which actually, like, I called it the girlfriend party, but the cringe party sounds way better.
Yeah.
They're struggling to breathe because obviously all the powers went down, and now of course you've got backups and whatnot and reserve systems, but they're still struggling to breathe. And it turns out these stupid bloody candles that they were making are special candles that take up twice as much oxygen as normal candles. So
They're all
don't like
burning the
candles.
oxygen away. It's like, oh no.
It's it was typical of a party of annoying bloody girlfriends that you'd
Mhm.
just quickly pass out, guys. Would you? We have
What was the one
yeah.
more funny thing that I noticed when she said that, which is correct, the candles are burning up oxygen. One of the girls sits there going like, "Well, you can't." She says something to the effect of, "No, you can't put the candles out because they're part of the salon." They're like, "What are you stupid?" It's like, it's
I'm
like,
sorry, Gray. I've seen salons before, and they never look like that. Or,
no, no,
or even if you're talking about the salon from Better Call Saul, aka Breaking Bad, with his room in the back, it still looks nothing like that. So this comment below if
yeah.
you've ever seen a salon like this, people. But yeah, we have a hilarious moment at the cringe party where Beckett stops being nice all of a sudden because apparently Jennifer says that you what's up with you? You know, like this is not like you. She's like, I'm trying to be nice for you. You know, I'm on your side. She's like, no, that I never brought you here to be nice. I brought you here to be your usual arsey self, pain in the backside. You know, I want you to show them who's the boss and put them in their place. So she literally, she
He gives
literally,
a reason. Go
she
ahead,
yeah,
permission, go.
she turns back to her usual Beckett self, no shit's given tour. She tears him a new one. I quote from what Jennifer said: "Go and tear him a new one." She then goes about stunning everyone to put them in their place. Because the thing is, all the sensors are down, the power's down, so it won't pick up the they won't pick up the phaser beams. She literally stuns everyone, and there's method to her madness. She's trying to
Mhm.
save oxygen because when you're unconscious, you use far less oxygen, which makes sense. Um, what did crack me up a little bit. So I had a little smile on my face about that one there. Beckett's back, doing what she does best, which is basically just not giving a shit, speaking their mind and doing what she wants.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was amusing. We're going back to our plot B, as we like to call it, with Tindy Rutherford and the Ryan guy. Do you remember his name? I don't.
No, no.
I mean, they might have
I'd
mentioned
have
it
to go
once at the
back and
start.
check it. Yeah,
He's annoying anyway, so like to be fair, he's a Ryan guy as
yeah.
far as I'm concerned. They are stuck on the Camarian ship, which at this stage they've I should probably note they've kidnapped Quark. For whatever reason, the Camarians have kidnapped Quark, God knows why, taking them back to his ship. They're going to go through the wormhole, so they're clearly a beta quadrant species because they do mention near the start, Gray, something about alpha quadrant
Yeah, they mentioned alpha, beta, and gamma, all in the same.
alpha scum or something like that. You know,
Yeah.
they were talking down one of the all the alpha quadrant species. So yeah, they're a beta quadrant species. They're taking them through the wormhole. Now it turns out though that the Ryan guy, Starfleet officer, is not all he's cracked up to be. He's putting on a facade, Gray. It turns out he's
Right.
actually from Cincinnati.
I don't know
He's
where they got that one from.
I
It
was
was pretty funny after showing off that, or supposedly talking a big storm that he's a pirate. When it comes down to it, they say, "Oh, you're a pirate, so you could help." And he's going like, "You kidding? I don't. I just talk a good story." And he goes, "I'm from Cincinnati. I was raised by humans." And I'm like, "Oh man,
he breaks down slightly though, doesn't he, Gray? I wouldn't say like he's not crying and stuff, but he completely changes his
oh
poker
yeah,
face and he's concerned. He's like, "You kidding me? I was putting on. No, I done that because I was wanting to show face, and this is what Orions
right,
do." And you know, so apparently he's actually hopeless at pirating, so he can't get them out of jail.
right."
So what happens next, Gray? What happens? Who saves the day?
Cindy. So
She does the
now,
opposite.
now we learn a little bit more about her. Apparently, I mean, we heard little things during the seasons and stuff, but apparently, for her family was part of the Orion Pirate Syndicate, so they were like badass pirates apparently. But she wanted to get away from that, and that's part of the reason why she joined Starfleet. But I guess apparently she remembers all these things because she was so part of it. and she just goes completely Orion pirate on these guys and starts kicking their butts. And I'm sitting there going like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And I'm sitting there going like, "Yeah, Tindy, go." And she's like kicking this guy, knocking that guy. And she has like this little device in her hand that's part, I guess, a pirate tool that you can use as a
Pirate
weapon or
tool,
another
yeah.
thing. And she starts throwing this thing around
A
and doing all
pirate
kinds of
multi-tool.
yeah. And she's
Does
doing all this
everything.
crap, and I'm like, it's happening so fast. I'm sitting there going like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." But it would totally caught me off guard because I'd never seen Tindy go that nuts. So she
No.
just goes nuts. She goes nuts on all these people. And what did you were saying? You wrote in the notes, it was funny. One Khmer decides to jump to his death instead of
Yeah,
facing her.
so basically, yeah. This is a multi-tool she's got that Orion's used
Yeah,
apparently, and the Orion guy, the Starfleet officer before, is twiddling it about. It does everything. It can interact with consoles. It can stab people. It can do all ransom things. It is a multi. It's a Swiss Army knife of Orion tools, basically,
right.
and she uses it to actually steal one of the Cimmerian's gold teeth. He has a gold tooth, and she literally goes yoink and steals it right off him.
Pulls her right out.
Right out in one go. She kicks that much arse at one point as she's running towards these Cimmerians in this platform that a Cimmerian sees her and sees what she's done. And this is a high platform at the ship. He literally jumps over the barriers and leaps to his death because he's like, I'm not facing Tindy when she's going AWOL at this. No way. Which was hilarious, but there was genius. There was method behind the madness, Grace. She didn't just. I knew she stole the tooth for a reason. She did.
Right.
It had latinum in it, and I don't think it was gold pressed, but it was certainly latinum. There was latinum in the tooth, and she used this with the multi tool to actually stop the engines just before it goes through the wormhole, right at the precipice of the wormhole or the event horizon, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So she does kick arse, but she's very smart and intelligent at the same time. So there was something to do this. We go back to the party, Gray. What happens back at the party here that I found pretty amusing? You want to tell the people?
Yeah. So at the party, they get they're all the people are all stunned and everything, and they start talking to each other, Beckett and Jennifer, and they're basically commenting that they can't really stand there not stunned, so they decide that they're gonna have to stun themselves. So then what happens all of a sudden is that they kiss each other, a rather romantic kiss,
Yeah.
right? And they're hugging each other, and then they stun each other, and then they fall on the floor. So so what's really happened now with the romantic relationships that have established more so than this season than all the other seasons? They've done this rather quickly.
Yep.
So now apparently we have the Rutherford Tindy connection because they
Which
seem
isn't
to really
official
care.
yet, but it's looking like
No, it's
that.
not official, but you can see that it's there. I mean, it's
Yeah,
there
yeah,
and it's
yeah, yeah.
getting more so. You have the Beckett with Jennifer, which is no doubt because of the bunk scene that we just remembered, as
Yep.
well as now this part too. So they're all together.
And Boimler still doesn't
Um,
have a clue.
and Boimler doesn't have a clue, but every female wants him. And
Oh,
it's perfect because part of the crew has found their other half, so to speak, and yet he is totally clueless, and all these girls want him. Every female wants
uh,
to be with him.
many people would welcome his problem, Gray.
Exactly.
But that's just bold Boims. It's not so bold, more dumb Boims. We should call them
Yeah,
dumb Boims.
he might be bold in one area, and he's completely
Clueless
I
in the
don't know
other.
it.
So apparently, the strange device that was in the Quark 2000, it cracks me up every time I say that to myself,
Eh,
was actually stolen from the Cimmerians by Quark. This is why they're dragging him away and they were capturing him in the first place.
all makes
Uh,
sense now.
it all makes sense now. It's always coming back 360. The solution that they negotiate to solve all this between Kira and Captain Freeman and all that is, and I thought this was a bit harsh. The
I do
Cimmerians are
too.
now going to take 76. That's a 76% of all of Quark's profit. Now, I'm telling you, obviously Quark and the Ferengi being profit driven, I thought that was harsh. I thought 50-50, 60-40,
Yeah, yeah.
76. And who comes up with that random figure?
I don't know.
Was one of the writers 76 or something? I
I'm
don't know.
assuming maybe that means something. I don't really know.
I
But
just
I thought that was a bit harsh too. But then I started thinking about this for a second. And since when has Quark ever played fair? So you know he's
yeah,
going
that's
to cook
probably
the
what it is.
books, and he's not going to give them 76%.
Of course, yeah, he'll like to be paid in cash, so it doesn't need to go through the books. There's a little nod here at the end of this note I mentioned, Gray, that I thought was amusing, but she doesn't say anything. Was it?
Yeah, and it's funny because when you mentioned this to me, I didn't see it, and I have to go back and look for it because I didn't see it at all. But apparently, Trev spotted this out, and she saw the doctor licking her drink
Yeah.
in Quark's bar,
It was just
like a cat would do.
yeah, it's not even a cocktail. It's just whatever, a wine or something there. Instead of drinking it, she just click, 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 like that, which did crack me up a little bit. But she doesn't say anything. So this is why it's a 9 out of 10 for me, Gray, because we never get any comments or funny lines from Dr. Cat, Tiana Cat, as you like to call her. So
Well, yeah, and I think that points out how good the episode was because, to be honest with you, if you're a fan of Dr. Tiana like I am, this is the second week she didn't say anything funny. Last week they missed many opportunities where she could have been funny as hell.
there wasn't any swearing
And
at all in this episode. Not one curse beep word. I
yeah,
don't think.
I don't think so either.
What's going on, man?
No bleeps or whatever.
That would have sealed the 10 out of 10 for me. I noticed certainly there was a couple of drinks that they called out here when they were serving them. I forgot the first one, but the second one's called a mind meld.
Mind meld. Yeah.
So that'll just, I don't know what that does to you. I want to try one of them.
Yeah, of course.
And Beckett has a hollow suite program.
Well, wait, let's back up before you mention that.
Uh-huh.
Apparently, we find out that Beckett has run up quite a tab at Quarks, and apparently, I guess she hasn't paid on her tab in quite a while. So this leads to the next thing. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah. That's a good point, Gray. Yeah, so Beckett has a hollow suite program. It's a bit of a getting one back in Quark and a little bit of kind of baits really here. The program has Quark's head on Kira's body now, and he's like, what? He's trying to grab it, and at one point he does actually successfully grab it, the little holosuite chip, and actually starts eating it to stop Kira seeing what's on it. But the thing is, Kira, oh sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. We move on to our two favourite Bajorans, Kira and Shax again. Kira now owes Shax one because Shax saved her earlier on by diving in front and saving her. Shax isn't too impressed by this because bear in mind they're trying to do one over the other by who saved who and who got in the way. So I'm chuckling away at this. Mr. Quark is now the proud owner of the gold tooth. I have no clue how he got that. I don't remember seeing that.
No, Tindy was sitting at the table talking to Rutherford, and Tindy was commenting to Rutherford that, I hope you don't think anything less of me because I got all piratey and everything, and my family and pirate syndicate. And he said, no. He said, on the contrary, I said, this is you. I want to know more about you. This is what makes you. And so that made Tindy feel better. And then she brings up a napkin, and she opens a napkin, and there's the gold tooth. But no sooner does the gold tooth, like in her hand, out of the napkin, the Quark goes and grabs it.
Yeah,
and he puts on a monocle and starts looking at it. And this is the typical way and the perfect way to end the show. They just go, rule of acquisition number 9. He goes, opportunity plus instinct equals profit. It's like,
great way to end the episode.
And I just thought that was so great because that's all you ever hear him say is the Ferengi rule of acquisition. So you had to throw that in at the very end. It was totally perfect and made total sense to what Deep Space Nine was about.
As Gray mentions here, it's a Quarkism, which it is. It really is. It's a Ferengi Quarkism. It's just perfect. It was generally an excellent episode. I'll give it 9 out of 10. Are you still sticking with 9 out of 10, Gray? Or you were 10 out of 10?
I'm going for my 10.
Even though
10 out of 10.
Dr. Cat never said anything? 9.5?
No, it could have been a 10, maybe a 10 plus if she had said something. But
that's not how this game works, but okay.
I know, but 10 is because it was handled really well. I mean, when the other episodes, not that I'm trying to say that they're bad. They're not bad. Most times I always give it a 7 because, again, many of the episodes are moments. So you have like these moments that are really good, really funny, like Dr. Tiana or others or whatever it might be. And then there's some of the rest of it is kind of like, it's okay. It just kind of moves the story along, and I'm not really overly thrilled with it. But this one, I liked from top to bottom. Everything was done well. The acting was excellent. The writing was excellent. You watched the whole episode. We were totally engrossed, and by the time it ended, you wanted more. And
Yeah.
that's a show. That's a
It,
sign of a really good
it,
episode.
it
Well
got
written.
you in the old nostalgia bone massively. Like we were,
Yeah.
I know exactly what Gray would have been like soon as you saw DS9 and heard the music. That he was Star Trek geeking out with the hairs in the back of
Oh
his
yeah.
head standing up. Same with me, exact same with me. I loved that. The only downside was, I say, Deanna didn't say anything. She didn't swear or beep once. That's the only small downside. I can't think of any other downside to this episode.
Yeah.
Or yeah, and maybe a little mention to Odo and Nog, because the actors passed away in real life. So that
Yeah.
would a little tiny nod, subtle picture or something in the background would have been lovely. But yeah, no, thoroughly good episode. So we'll wrap it up there, Gray. Usual call to arms, please, people. If you like Talking Head videos, you like listening to our nonsense, always do what Gray does. Thumbs up and a cheeky subscription, please. We really appreciate that. Always put comments below what you like, what you didn't like about it. We always like to improve things. We're not pretending we're experts at it. And for people that maybe want to listen to it instead of watching, we do put this on all popular podcasts and platforms. So wherever you go for your pods, just go there and look for the Trekway. You'll get us. We're also on the Trekway on Twitter as well. So if you follow there, you'll know exactly when we go live. But that'll be us for today, Mr. Gray. So goodbye to the people.
Bye bye. Have a good
See you
one.
later,
Long and
guys.
prosper.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.